Wouldn't you like to pause from your busy day and listen in to experts and homeschool parents like you about the beautiful world of homeschooling? This podcast is designed just for you. Each episode connects you to the best conversations that will give you courage and fill your cup so you can keep pouring into your family every single day. Introducing the Hey Mama Homeschool Show, brought to you by the Old Schoolhouse, your trusted homeschool partner for over 20 years.
Hi, everyone. This is Heather with the Old Schoolhouse. Welcome to episode 45 of the Hey Mama Homeschool Show podcast. Today, I'll be talking about homeschooling through the holidays with games. With Christmas coming up, I am so excited to talk about this topic. But before I get started, I want to let you know that if your teenager is struggling with learning losses in reading, writing, and math, Brushfire Education can help. Brushfire Education specializes in direct instruction in-person classes. Visit brushfireusa.com to find out more. That's brushfireusa.com. I am so excited to talk about this topic because there is something about the holiday season that can stress out so many parents. And you might have seen this going across your social media feed, or it might have been a conversation coming up with other parents that you know. And a lot of times we will hear parents in the public school and private school sectors talking about how they are so stressed out that their children are going to be coming back home and they're just counting the days until they have to go back to school on January 1st. And maybe you were there at one point. Maybe you're there now and it's difficult for you to think about not having structure during the month of December if you need to take a break to work on family activities or church activities or different responsibilities that you might have, whether it's choir or a play or handbells or whatever your commitments are. It can bring a lot of stress when parents think about what's ahead because this schedule is changing and a lot of children thrive on schedule. So even though there's that excitement in the air about Christmas and what that is going to hold, leading up to that can bring a lot of stress. And, it breaks my heart when I see those posts from parents who jokingly, they say lovingly, that they are nervous about their kids coming home and it's going to be such a burden and a difficult time. But Psalms 127, 3-5 says, "Children are heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from him." And many of us, we understand this as Christians. We know that they are a gift from God, that our children are a gift from God. But we need oftentimes to allow the Lord to show us what exactly that means, so that we can show others, so they are able to use this time home to draw close to their children. If they have that attitude where they just want their children back in school so they can have their own life at home, and again, many of us have been there at one point, at one time or another, but God might want to use you to help show them how to enjoy that time, because that can be the catalyst, that can be the stepping stone for them to maybe consider homeschooling, maybe beginning even this January, this new semester. If they can really get a hold, or maybe you're listening and your children are in public school and you're on the fence thinking about homeschooling, this is an incredible time, whether it's 1 week or 2 week or sometimes up to a month, where children can have time off from school or their education, and you can spend time with them and draw close to them. We can see our children, as the scripture I mentioned says, as a reward, as a prize, as a gift, not a drudgery or something we have to deal with or push through until January 1st. This is an excellent time to get together with our kids and using games. Using games throughout this month is an incredible time to see our family draw together. Now, some of you might be thinking, my kids do not play games well together. I cannot pull a board game out. Their attention span isn't there. Their patience isn't there. It just doesn't work. This is the joy of parenting because we can use this as an opportunity to teach our children how to get along with one another. 1 John 4:20 says, "Whoever claims to love God yet hates a brother or sister is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother or sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen." What a wonderful way to deal with the religious mindset that can captivate and grip so many Christians during the holiday season. And what a wonderful way to deal with our children who, so many people might be saying, "Wow, you were such a wonderful Mary in the pageant," or "You did such a wonderful solo on your violin and during the cantata," or, your children are able to use their gifts, which is a wonderful thing, using their talents that God gave to them. But if that becomes the focus, if they become the focus, and they say they're doing it as unto the Lord, but when they're brought home, they don't have that relationship with their brothers and sisters, or maybe, they're a single child, but they, have so much resentment towards their cousins or their friends or even their parents. If they can't love those whom they've seen, then how are they going to love God whom they have not seen? And this is such a powerful scripture and such a powerful lesson to be taught, especially this time of year when tensions can be high, stresses can be arising because the schedule is changing. And we as parents have a wonderful opportunity to make the schedule however we seem fit for our family. So I have some ideas for you. And I want to say, with younger children, I 100% understand the struggle. I understand the difficulty of getting a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old together to play Candyland because one child really wants red and the other child really wants the color red. And then a fight breaks out and the pieces are everywhere and the game never gets played. But this is the time, even though it sounds stressful, that we'll have to be in there monitoring the situation. In the long run, it really does not take as much time as we think that it will. And I've noticed in parenting that if I go into a situation knowing that there's most likely going to be struggles and anticipating what those are going to be, then it's so much easier to deal with. If I put a game on the table and think in my head, okay, I'm going to go make the cookies for this event coming up. I'm going to go make the meal for this Christmas dinner. The kids are going to play and they're going to be happy and sweet and there's going to be no problems. Then yes, that's when the difficulty comes because I didn't want to be interrupted. But when we remember that, yes, there's going to be a few interruptions, going to need to go over and deal with the issue here, deal with an issue there, But as they get older, and this is what I love about having teenagers and then elementary age kids at the same time right now, is I feel like I have more patience with the younger ones because I see my older ones, how when they play games together, they're sitting at the table for hours, having fun, loving it. And that did not just happen overnight. They had to be taught. And then they learned how to enjoy one another's company and to respect one another and not to throw the board game pieces all across the house when they didn't get their own way or they didn't win. You deal with these small steps, and in the end, it's worth it because when these kids are playing these longer games, it's helping with their attention span. The first word of this podcast is homeschooling. So we're not just talking about playing games over the holidays, but it counts as school. Okay, you can check it off. It does count as school because regardless of the game that they play, they're using their skills, their reading, their skills, their math skills, their reasoning skills. There's so many different games, and I'll mention a few suggestions in a few minutes, but this is school, regardless of how you look at it. It's a wonderful opportunity for our kids to learn in a different way. And working with those little ones and dealing with those issues, it produces wonderful fruit. And, I mentioned how I feel like I can be a little more patient with the younger ones. We've all heard, the old saying, I could never homeschool because I'm not patient enough. And then every homeschool mom responds, nobody is. None of us are patient. Patience is something that is developed. We develop patience through the trials that we go through. I don't think I could be wrong. I'm sure there are homeschool moms out there who, develop patience before they were married and before they started having kids in a deeper way than I did. But for me, once I got married, I realized my lack. And once I had kids, I realized I had a greater lack in that area. But it's been developing only through the grace of God and through the experiences that have been put before me. And rather than pushing away those experiences, a lot of times as parents, we will say, nope, we're not putting games on the shelf because we don't want to deal with the fights, or we don't want to deal with cleaning up all the pieces, or we don't want to deal with this, that, or the other thing. When really, and maybe games aren't for you, that's okay. But if the reasoning is to not have to deal with the mess, I challenge you, I encourage you to give it a try this year. Just try, because you never know what lessons could be learned. And teaching your kids to clean up those Monopoly pieces. Yes, mom, it's going to be stressful if there's a younger one playing with the older kids and the younger one throws all the money out or wants to go play store in their bedroom and you find it hidden under their mattress 3 days later. It's not fun, I understand, but it is a teaching opportunity. And as my husband would always tell me when we had our first two very close together, 13 months apart. And so when they were 2 and 3, my husband would tell me, you're going to miss these days. You're going to miss the days when everything is strewn over everywhere and there's your lipstick all over the mirror. And I just looked at him like, I'm going to miss this. But he is right. He is right. Even though it may seem difficult at the time, we will miss it and we need to cherish it. And going back to, the mom who is looking for the day for their child to go back on that school bus, we really want to embrace that mom. If that's you, we want you to understand that this Christmas season is a wonderful time to just give homeschooling a try. Give family time a try in a deeper way, in a way that you've never experienced it before. And if you're not homeschooling and you're considering it, then this might just open up that door and make you consider it for January or next year. And so I highly encourage you to give it a chance. And, I love the scripture that says, I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. And when we're teaching our children to get along with one another, to prefer one another, to share with one another, there is no greater joy than seeing them grasp these truths. And even in a different sense, for me, there's no greater joy than when I'm now able to be in the kitchen making a meal and then hearing the kids playing in the other room and getting along. It's a wonderful joy because I see that the Word of God works and that God is changing their hearts and working in them and strengthening their relationships. We need to teach our children how to love each other. We need to teach them how to get along despite the differences. And I have seen in our family that games is definitely a tool that can be used to obtain this. And with the younger children, I definitely would stick to the short games. So this would be the dice-based games or bananagrams or card games. And maybe depending on how many children you have, if you just have one young child, this would be an excellent bonding time for mom and child, or dad and child, or an older sibling and child, just a one-on-one time. I would love when my oldest son was younger, we would just get on the floor, play bananagrams, just make up words, and just have so much fun just spending time with one another. And I think that might have been what developed his love for the longer games. The longer games, such as Monopoly, we're big fans of Settlers of Catan. And when I say long, I mean long, right? Like 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours long, pausing the game, coming back the next day, having a card table out or part of your dining room table where you have this game that you can come back to. Other family games that we have, Pandemic, Risk, Life. And my kids, they just get so excited when we break the routine and we say, okay, kids, we're going to play Life today. Okay, kids, it's Monopoly day. And their eyes just light up. And I know these games are not for everyone, but for the child, if you have just one child that loves that game, then you teach your other kids to sacrifice what they love, for that child that enjoys it, because it means so much to them. So even if it's just 1 or 2 days during the Christmas season where you get out that big game that takes a long time, then encourage your other children, your husband, yourself to get the game out and spend time, because you might have a child that's their love language, the quality time, and that is exactly what they need. And then you might have some other kids that they just enjoy working the mind. They enjoy the single player games. There's so many out there, such a wide variety of different puzzle type games where you just get a kit and there's maybe 30, 40, 50 different varieties of how you can manipulate the pieces, a small little game, and the challenge is to get from one level to the other. So obviously, you can find this type of game online, where you have that challenge to get to the next level. But having the tactile on hand right there for your child to have, it's just a completely different perspective, completely different way of learning and having fun. It just breaks up the holiday season, and it's a wonderful way for you to even separate the kids if they're getting into little spats. Then you can break out the single player games, send them each to a different part of the house, and they can work on those as they calm down. Another option would be puzzles. Uh, you could have one puzzle that you pick out for the month of December, and you say, okay, whenever somebody wants to work on this puzzle, here it is on the dining room table, the kitchen table, wherever, coffee table, work on this puzzle. And when we're all done, we're going to glue the pieces together, put it in a frame, and hang it up. And then that could become a tradition every year. You have a different Christmas puzzle that could be Christmas decoration. We have our stairway that goes from our upstairs down to our basement. When my kids will finish a puzzle, we'll decorate the walls with those. And it just is such a neat opportunity for those who are a little artsy and they like that extra challenge. And I just wanted to remind you again, if you have a teenager in your home that is struggling, homeschooling teenagers, and you're seeing those challenges, it can bring a lot of questions to your mind about their future, but you don't have to worry with Brushfire Education. If you see they're having learning losses in reading and writing or even math, Brushfire Education, they specialize in helping in these areas. They have direct instruction, in-person classes, and you can just go over to brushfireusa.com to find out more. And they are happy to answer your questions and help you. And they are absolutely there for you. So I just wanted to remind you that if you head over to schoolhouseteachers.com, we have games over there that you can also use. I mentioned the short games, the longer games, single player games and puzzles, but I'm not going to leave out the online options. There's definitely something special about having the physical games, and I highly recommend it. But I understand that it's not for everyone. And we do live in an online world, and I am thankful for many of the online resources. I have kids that are using schoolhouseteachers.com courses. They're using the IST interactive courses. They're using Worldbook, which I'm going to talk about a little more here. And they use other courses as well that are online. So I prefer to use a balance with my kids. And Worldbook games, I've noticed, is a really neat way to break things up. If I just need to give the kids something different, I'll go there. And with my schoolhouseteachers.com membership, I can access dozens upon dozens of games completely free. They have educational video games. Some of them are similar to the old 80s style video games that you might, if you're my age, then you might know. If you are younger, then a lot of the games also are very similar to a lot of the popular apps that are out there. And it's really cute watching the kids play those games. And although it is similar to the apps that you'll see in your app store, these are educational. So they're having fun, but they're learning. They're science-based. They're math-based. They're reading-based. And the kids have such a blast. So that's over at Worldbook Games. Again, you can get a code for free access if you are a schoolhouseteachers.com member in your member dashboard. So make sure you check that out. If you just want to switch things up and maybe give each child a short amount of time each day, set the timer, say you can go ahead and use these games. Now remember, this is not a Christian site, so you might want to check the games ahead of time just to make sure it aligns with your worldview. Schoolhouseteachers.com is Christian, but Worldbook is not. So just check that out. I've found many games that my kids can enjoy, but I'm picky, and so I like to pick and choose for them. Another resource that you can use during the Christmas season is called Everyday Games. And this is over at schoolhouseteachers.com. It is a course and it has dozens and dozens of games. My favorite are the winter games. They have cute little snowmen and they are adorable. They have games for your children to work on counting, on subtraction, multiplication, reading, and so many other skills. So definitely check that out. Go over to schoolhouseteachers.com, type in everyday games, and you will see a wide variety of educational games that you can use. And I just want to end by saying, if you've decided not even to throw any education in during this month of December leading up to Christmas, then I completely get it. There are years that I do that, and who knows if that's going to be one of those years this year. Only the Lord knows. But pray about it and seek the Lord and see what He has for you and your family. This is the time to focus on the Lord. And I love Isaiah 9:6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. This is in the Old Testament. This is in the book of Isaiah. This is foreshadowing the birth of Jesus. And just like there were hundreds of years from the last prophet in the Old Testament until that star that led the wise men to Jesus and to the birth of our Savior, there might be silent years in our life. Maybe you feel like that you're there right now with, the hustle and bustle of raising young children and you feel dry and empty, but there is a well coming. There is a time of rejoicing coming. And, for all those who are waiting and waiting for Jesus, He came and He's here, and we can partake in all that He has for us. And this is a wonderful time for us to be reminded of that and to remind our children of that. And if all December is for your family is reading through the Gospels or even looking in the Old Testament at the prophecies of Jesus and looking at the typology or the foreshadowing of Jesus, whatever the Lord has for your family, just embrace it at this time because the years go by so fast. And this is a wonderful time to spend with our family. I am so thankful that you joined me today. I want to just direct you over to homeschoolshow.com so you can check out the show notes where you will find a wide variety of resources. I also want to let you know about the Homeschool College Directory. So that's at homeschoolcollegedirectory.com. Getting ready for your high schooler to spread their wings and fly can be a difficult and challenging time. I'm right there with you. I'm graduating my first senior this spring. I'm looking at colleges. I'm looking at everything for him in the future. But ultimately, I need to give it to the Lord because the Lord knows exactly what He has for him, and the decision is in my son's hands. And there are so many incredible resources over at homeschoolcollegedirectory.com. I've just been clicking through and looking at the write-ups of what the different colleges have to offer. There's an incredible search bar if you're looking for a specific thing. And it has been a wonderful resource, a wonderful tool for our family, and I hope it can be for yours as well. So stay tuned for upcoming episodes of the Hey Mama Homeschool Show. Next time, you will hear about Christmas recipes, crafts, and easy gift ideas. Then it'll be Home, Where They Belong for Christmas, and then the beloved story. If you have not heard this story, you need to tune in. And if you have heard it, you need to be reminded of it again because it is wonderful, and it is called Oranges for Christmas. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.